To be here with you on this Tuesday morning. If you happen to be catching this live or later, say good morning, Corey. Look who's 3 months old and getting so fat. Her thighs are gorgeously fat. She's got rolls within her rolls, which makes my heart so happy because she was our youngest. Hi, Malachi. She's our smallest baby ever. She was 6 pounds when all of my other children who come at 38 weeks, they've all been C-sections. Yes, all 11 of them. They've been 8 pounds on average, which is a good, healthy baby weight for 38 weeks. 6 pounds she came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't do anything different this pregnancy, but here she is with lovely rolls. And I'm so excited to talk to you this morning about a topic I've been hearing in all kinds of moms groups, especially my big family moms group, about the transition from 3 children to 4 children. And I'm up to 8 children now, but I can remember like yesterday what it was like going from 3 to 4. Actually, quick backstory. I started out, brand new mom, didn't know what I was doing, fairly new Christian, and along comes baby number 1, my daughter, who's now 17. And then right after her, less than 2 years later, we had twins. So I had 3 under 3. There was no 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and then 3 to 4. So I was kind of like baptism by fire, really just, okay, well, I kept baby number 1 alive. By God's grace, I will figure out how to do it with twins. And I did have a measure of faith that he poured into my heart when we found out that we were expecting twins. When I knew I was pregnant, we went for our standard ultrasound around 20 weeks, and there's 2. But less than a year later, we were pregnant with number 4. And there's a whole other story there, but in the interest of time, I'm just going to share some thoughts for your encouragement. If you're in the thick of it as a big family mom, you are, embracing children as a blessing from God. And at the same time, you're in the thick of it with now 4 children. And usually the spread looks like you got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, like a 1-year-old, and a new baby, or you're just immediately about to expect and you're kind of deer in headlights. Am I going to be okay? And those are thick years. That's the thick of it, is the way I want to say it. Because a lot of big family moms who, like myself, are a little further ahead, a little bit more of a veteran mom. I'm not a total noob anymore. I'm actually just going to start nursing her while I talk. I actually got my necklace. We know that 5 is a golden age. But if you haven't been there yet, if you're still, like I said, in the thick of it with 3 kids under 3 or 4 under 4, you don't know what 5 looks like. Well, 5 is a golden age. Everything begins to change for like a developmentally normal child around age 5. Their brain changes, their ability changes, their attention span changes. They actually begin to be able to help in a, maybe not like, come on, they're not going to be cooking you supper, but they can definitely help more. Their attention span is different. They're just more cooperative. There's so many good things that I love and appreciate about God's design for 5-year-olds. So part of my encouragement to you in the thick of it as you go from 3 to 4 is hang in there. It will get easier. And I know it seems counterintuitive. You're like, how can it be easier? The people around you might be telling you, all these children, you're how can you do it? Like old woman in the shoe kind of ideology of no sane, rational person can possibly be okay with 4 or more children. I mean, it's just insane, abandon ship now. And I'd like to speak favorably of most people and speak charitably where I don't really know individuals' hearts. But broadly speaking, I don't see that actually lining up with the heart of God or the word of God towards the blessing of children and towards his heart towards mankind. I truly do believe that he does give grace. He gives an abundant grace, especially to those who are, these unicorns like you and me, who are daring to believe that God will give them the grace, the supply, the energy, the sanity, what it takes to embrace this blessing of children in his timing and the shape and the size and all the details and logistics of a big family. So as you're going through the transition from 3 to 4, my encouragement to you, just because I'm a little bit further down the road now, is it will get better. 5 years old is a golden age. Now, While you're in it though, here's just some practical knowledge. Maybe you already know this, but it helps to hear it again, especially as spring is in the air. I live north of 60. I'm up in Canada. So I've got a little shawl on today because it's a little chilly. However, I am pushing myself to get out more. There's all kinds of studies that have been done on vitamin D and fresh air and how our brains wired by God respond to sunlight and more oxygen. So just, hey Malachi, could you stop clicking your tongue for a sec? Thanks. While you're in the thick of it, even in the winter, exerting yourself, even though it may not be your natural inclination, it's not always mine, I'm more of an introvert at heart, to get out. Even open the window if that's more practical, you're nursing or whatever. But just getting outside, getting some vitamin D, getting some fresh air, just getting out of the house and the four walls you might be tired of seeing and, always picking up after the little kids. Get outside is some good practical advice and start to build that into your day-to-day, the flow of your day, especially as the change of seasons is a good time to say, okay, what's not working? What would I like to test out and see if it will work better for me and just help me keep my eyes up to the hills where my help comes from, right? And to have more hope and lift up your eyes so that you're not just always looking down at your immediate situation, but looking ahead, like the Proverbs 31 woman, one of my favorite lines. I pray it often for my daughters, especially, so they will look to the future and smile. And the future for you might be bedtime today, because sometimes when you're in the thick of it with little kids and 4 little kids, honestly, I get the bedtime countdown. I still do it because I still have a 5, a 3, a 2, and a now newborn, right? I have that mix. I just also have 7 more kids on top of that, and they're also much more capable children. So got some little notes here because I was like, oh, there's so much I could say, but I'm going to keep these videos. My aim is to keep them 10. I typically run over to 15 because my heart is just overflowing, wanting to help other big family moms in a way that I just didn't have connection and help, didn't know anybody, nobody in my church scene. I mean, they exist. Like I said, we're unicorns. They're out there somewhere. But to connect meaningfully with other big family moms, actually get some encouragement, some practical advice, sometimes easier said than done, depending on where you live and who your friends are, and if you've just moved, or you're transitioning from 3 to 4 children, and it can be a lot of cooped upness. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. I had a baby 3 months ago. Yeah, just feeling cooped up, right? Like, so getting out, making it part of your day to go to the park, especially now that things are melting, depending on where you live. The parks are open again. They might be covered in dirt, but they're there. And kids aren't so picky, right? They're so happy to see the parks after a long winter, which segues beautifully into my next piece of advice, which is pace yourself, girl. If you, prior to having children, or when you had one, maybe just 2, but now you're in the 3 to 4 zone, if prior to that you were super active, you were the kind of person who loves to volunteer, maybe you or your husband are in active overt ministry, pastoring, or some other kind of like major volunteering role within the church, whether it's paid or not, or you're just a real go-getter, you love to get involved, get things done, I would encourage you to pace yourself in this particular season, knowing that the days are long, but the years are short. The 3 to 4 transition will go by in about 2 years. Lord willing, you may have another child and suddenly be in the thick of it with 5, which for some women is the bigger transition than 3 to 4. But most women, statistically, just anecdotally from what I've observed, most women find the transition from 3 to 4 to be the hardest. And once you get through that hurdle, you get a lot more mileage, a lot more experience, a lot more wisdom for the road. And it'll help you, should the Lord bless you with a 5th child in the next 2 years on average, right? So pace yourself, and I would recommend rolling back your outdoor external commitments is what I mean. So if you're volunteering for that, you're on the committee for this, and you're the go-to person in your family for everybody to call with all of their drama, and you pick up the phone no matter who it is, whenever, I would recommend that you set some boundaries on your time, that you decide how much extra time in the 24 hours a day the Lord's entrusted you with, where you will portion out that time. If it's going to be a lot more at home, so be it. So getting outside so you're not, kind of going stir crazy, but also not overextending yourself. So you're trying to be like a mom with 2 kids, or trying to be like who you were before you had kids. The Lord has brought you to this season of life of 3, 4 children. And like I said, it's only actually going to be a couple of years. So if you're if you're maybe experiencing some tension, even as you're hearing me say this, you're like, oh, but, but, and you feel the tension rising, I'd encourage you to spend some time with the Lord quietly. It doesn't need to be a lot of time, and ask why. Why does that freak you out? Why does that maybe bring up some tension? Because it's probably got some roots. And I think it would be a really, really healthy exercise to explore why doing less in a season of 3 to 4 children maybe brings up some uncomfortable feelings. It might be related to a sense of worth, finding your value in doing things outside of the home. It might be, oh, God knows what it's going to be. It might be scared to be alone with the kids all the time and being bored out of your mind. That was something I really dealt with when I was a young mom. Is this is going to suck, was the lie I was believing deep down, because my culture, my family, just things I picked up along the way had such a negative view, even now, of being just a stay-at-home mom, especially committing yourself to be like a professional career stay-at-home mom. I had no aspirations once we'd crossed the bridge into trusting God with our family size. I had no more aspirations to return to the workforce. It wasn't a short-lived little stint where I was going to detour into motherhood for a while, chuck the kids all into school, and then get back to the real me. Now, I'm not necessarily knocking women who choose to follow that road, but speaking for myself, I knew that I had committed to welcome children as a blessing, and that was going to change my life trajectory, probably change my career aspirations. So if you're scared, if you're experiencing tension at the idea of scaling things back, I'd recommend doing some self-exploration, doing what one of my mentors calls the why exercise. You can even do it alone without making it a big prayer exercise, but I like to sit prayerfully before the Lord, just with this posture of openness and listening quietly. I might have been doing the dishes at the same time, because moms are good at multitasking, and saying, God, why am I so uncomfortable with this idea of doing less in this season, or scaling back and maybe dropping out of that group or quitting my involvement with that. And usually he's so gracious and so quick to show me the lie I'm believing, or maybe some value I've attached to this, that, or the other thing. And he brings me back to him and says, honey, you're mine. And that's enough. And that's usually the message that I need to hear so often, is at the end of the day, as a Christian, I am my beloved and he is mine. And my value and my worth are not in all the other things I do, or even how awesome I am as a mom and how, well scheduled and organized and balanced I am. He brings me back to his heart and encourages me individually, in the season of transitioning from 3 to 4 children, or in my case, the big leap was going from 4 to 5. But other stories for others day. This is just a short video. I'm up to 12 minutes, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. And if this is really resonating with you, you'd like some more support as a big family mom, some more practical advice, whether you're in this season or another season of big family mom life, feel free to jump into my Big Family Moms community, where we just hit 1,000 last night. This group just started less than a year ago, but it's growing like crazy, a good crazy. Because there are a lot of big family moms in the world. Like I said, the unicorns are finding each other, and we're being an encouragement to each other with just overcoming big family mom struggles that are really common to us. And because we get each other, and we're not going to ridicule and mock each other, we can be real. It's a safe place to grow in skill and to grow in God's grace together. So I'm going to pop out and get this little girl to sleep now. She's got a full tank. So you want to say bye?
Bye.
Have a great day.